Good evening. Good evening. So 2001, we had the Oldham riots. I more call them the Oldham and Bradford riots because there was trouble in both places. And so I watched, a lot of people watched as Glodit burnt at the top near the church, Glodit Road. It burnt. There was cars turned over, and it went on for about 3 or 4 nights. And you could see this on my side of town because it faces that way. You could see it for miles. And it was bad. It was upsetting. It was bad. But the council, the police knew what was going to happen. Let me just get that straight. People had already warned the council about what was to occur. They warned the council about social housing and segregation, which was creating ghettos in Oldham. You've heard me talk about how other communities have integrated. You heard me talk about the Ukrainians that first come to Oldham. Why they're not here now is that they integrated, they moved out into the further of Oldham, the Oldham borough, and they successfully integrated. And these were the Ukrainians who came here in the 50s and 60s. Again, a lot of the West Indians who came then, fairly integrated. They did move out into society. I'm not saying they integrated totally because we've got a lot of Jamaican style gang culture here. It's been documented, well documented, but they moved out, and so did other people who came to England at that time. But again, there was a build up to this. It was coming up. And again, people were telling that the councils and the police and the Labour Council did nothing. The council didn't address these issues. And I've talked about this many times before. 2019 general election, I quizzed Graham Stringer, Blakely and Broughton Member of Parliament, on this particular issue about segregation and integration. And I said the same things about the riots I've just said to you that I said to him. And it was in Cheetah Mill, and it was in a mosque. And it there weren't too many white people there, but, and I stood up and said that. Afterwards, people come up to me and said about it. And I said, no, it's not. People are integrating. They're not. And so I've mentioned it many a times. But not just me mentioned it, and I've talked about this before. My dad and other community members approached the council in the early 90s about this particular issue. But anyway, that's enough of that. That's a little bit of intro of what's going on. My name's John Lawrence, and welcome to NHPUK TV. And today we're going to be talking about integration. I have talked about this before. But I'll recap and do a bit of a better cap, and obviously it's for my new channel. I'll just have a check in the chat, see who's on. Good evening, Pat. Good evening. Yes, Steve Wild. SH. So we'll go straight into the Ritchie Report, which was done after the riots. We'll go right into the Ritchie Report. And this is from The Guardian. You can look at a more detailed copy of the Ritchie Report, but this is a overall from the Guardian about this. 2002. Oldham Council hits out over riot reports criticism. Oldham Council went on the defensive yesterday when it was questioned the methodology of the Ritchie Report into rioting in the time last year, which concluded that the authority had done little to challenge racial segregation in education and housing over 30 years. Over 30 years. Now, I am gonna write that figure down. I'm actually gonna write it down, that figure. So that's 30 years from 2002. So that takes us back to 1970, which is, I've not said this, I've always said since the 90s, but you can see here, but the issue was going on long before that. It might have been quieted down, but it's been going on long before that. So it's been going on since the 1970s. And if you've watched me other videos, I always use a time scale of early 90s, 90s onwards. So this is an official report, the Ritchie Report, and it's saying 30 years from 2002. So we can go back to 1970. 1970. Its response to the report, which was published last December after the worst race riots in Britain for 15 years, was unveiled yesterday. It claimed many of the town's problems were not caused by race, but as a result of poverty and social exclusion. The Ritchie Report criticised Oldham Council for failing to address segregation. This is something I go on about. They have failed. They have failed in the past 20 years. But this is saying it's been failing since the 1970s to address this kind of thing. And this is Labour, mainly Labour. Conservatives, well, it's everybody. It's all the council. I won't say it's just Labour. It's a Labour-dominated council and has been for many years, but we have Conservatives, senior Lib Dems, senior Conservatives on that council as well. So we'll set all of the council. So when I said a council, I mean all the parties, not just one. But in its response, the council said there are concerns relating to an overall lack of academic rigour and flawed methodology inherent within the report. There was no programme of research to inform the conclusions, and much was apparently dependent on the views of those self-selected few who sought the opportunity to express their views. The emphasis on race throughout the report also leads to a failure to recognise that there is a significant gender issue in Oldham which must be addressed, and more specifically, the lack of women in positions of power and influence is noticeable. Now, that is what's been going on here. As we know, Arut Shah, when she first stood up to be a councillor, was put down by the men in her own community. Then, when she became a councillor and the leader of the council, a car got firebombed. And it was nobody white supremacist, it was nobody right-wing, it were her own members of the community. I can also tell you that we give money to all the major Muslim communities in Oldham to get women, to get them into work, which doesn't work because none of the women work, or well, the majority of them don't. And we give money to these organisations or these programs so that women feel a bit more that they can work and stuff like that. It just doesn't go in that community. It doesn't go. And I challenge anybody, any man from the Pakistani or the Bangladeshi communities to tell me that isn't the way. There is some women who get up there, I know, but on the majority repressed. Now, this is what a report is saying. This isn't just me. This report is saying this, and it was done 20 years ago. So don't nobody start pointing your fingers at me. Go and read the Ritchie Report. I've put the link in the description. It's there for you to look at. So I don't want anyone, left, right, whatever you are, criticising me for saying these things when it's written down. in The Guardian from 2002, and it's more detailed in the Ritchie Report from 2001. So just go and look at it, please. But that's before anyone starts, before I get any bad responses. What this paper, this is what this report is saying from 20 years ago. I'm not making things up. We know these kind of things go on. We've seen what happened with the Ritchie in the council when she stood up. Men of her own community put her down and did a campaign of hate against her, and she had to move to an area that was predominantly white to get voted in. And that's what it's like living in Oldham for women of minority communities, certainly the Muslim ones. Now, we live in Great Britain. I thought we had some kind of, like, women can get these jobs, women can work. I thought we had that. And I thought we had that women have their own, say, women can vote. The suffragettes, famous around Oldham, fought for the women's vote. But now women are being backtrodden by minority communities and not getting the chance in life. I just want to go to something. I want to go to just a little. I want to just quickly nip on to something. And it was the French doing the hijab ban. Right. And they did it so many years ago. They did it. They did it so many years ago. But what's happened now that they've noticed is that because they've done this headscarf ban, that the girls are doing better in school and they're coming out with an identity and stuff like that. This is one of the things about integration. The headwear, it's been proven. This has been proven in France. I'll get you. Big John don't say nothing if I don't already have the evidence. Now, just bear with me, please. Bear with me. Just, bear with me. Like I said, I don't want to go on that I'm talking shit or anything like that. Sorry about the language, but I've had it many a times. I'm going to put it in the stream now. There's a link to the article. Good evening, English Bulldog. Yes, Peter. Good evening, sir. Peter Smith there is going to be my election agent in this election. We'll talk a little bit more about that afterwards, but I've put the link in there, and they found since the headscarf ban, the girls are doing better at school and they're integrating better into French society. It's something that we have to think about. I think there's a lot of people who agree on the hijab ban in the UK. So going forward, I think that should be something that we have to do. Otherwise, these girls are going to stay secluded and segregated, and it's not going to help the communities and the working communities as well. If these girls can go out to work, we're going to need these people. We're going to need everyone for Great Britain, for the United Kingdom. We're on our own now, away from Europe. We've got to stand on our own 2 feet. So everyone's going to have to throw in the chip. Everyone's going to have to throw in the chip who are here, who are UK citizens. So going forward, this is something to look at. I'll ask Pat when he comes on in a bit about that particular thing. But yeah, so 20 years ago, the Ritchie Report. Now, there was a lot of things that come out of that they was going to put more money into youth, into the minority community youth section of their community. They're going to put more money into it because it was a lot of young lads who were kicking off. It weren't so much the old ones, it were all the young ones. And because they're segregated, they don't have a good identity, they're not Britishised, they don't have an identity, and they don't respect our values either. So they said that they would put more money into this and more money into schooling and stuff like that. So years later, the communities, some communities became predominantly Pakistani or Bangladeshi, and so did the schools as well. But I mean, how did that work out? The schools becoming predominantly ethnic minorities from a certain particular section of society, Pakistani or Bangladeshi. If you look into the links into the stream that I've put on the description, one of them is Clarksfiled Primary School. Kids get dismal start to school life at primary school where boys are dominating the playground, says report. Clarksfiled Primary School investigated for alleged Islamic takeover plot as being deemed inadequate by Ofsted. Children at a school formally investigated for an alleged Islamic takeover plot are being given a dismal start to school life. Ofsted put Clarksfiled Primary School in Oldham into special measures, saying public pupils are not safe. The Education Watchdog's inspection report revealed concerns over the way boys and girls relate to each other, the boys dominating the playground, pupils with special educational needs being taught in toilets, poorly trained staff who don't speak English properly, dangerous equipment such as a saw being left lying around, expectations of the children being too low, governors who had not held the management team to account because they are too busy deciding who should be chairman, insufficient focus on the progress and safety of children by governors. And this is a predominantly Pakistani school, this. The guy involved, who was alleged to be doing the Islamic takeover plot, we'll get round to him in his name in a minute. And the head teacher had alleged that she had received death threats. Now, the head teacher, I've found nothing about her since. I don't know where she is or anything like that. Nothing ever came of this, except for the Ofsted report putting it into special measures. As far as I know, the council never said anything about it. No one's stood up and said nothing about it. And this is absolute the pits of lack of integration. These people wanting Islamic school takeover plot. So they wanted the school to do everything to do with Islam. So they hired the poorly trained staff who don't speak English properly. Now, my nephews, when they were growing up, went to schools just like this. And every teacher or support worker spoke English and spoke good English. These schools teach you English and stuff like that. So if these people aren't learning English properly, how are they going to integrate when they're teenagers? If these people aren't learning the skills early, how are they going to get jobs in society? How are they going to be able to fill out application forms and things like that? A lot of you will know that we have people here, one, maybe two generations, who have really bad English. And this is not going to help in integration. Now, I'm saying this, but these things have been going on. I'm telling you, it's already been going on 30 years, according to the Ritchie Report from 2002, not making nothing up. The links are if anyone wants to go to it. If you want to go further, Google up the Ritchie Report and download the PDF about it. If you don't need to take my word for it, although I always do show you the evidence and do show you the links to what's been said in reports, investigations, inquiries. I tell you all this. So this is public knowledge. So 6 months ago, it emerged head teacher Patricia O'Donnell had alleged an organised Trojan horse-style Islamic takeover plot had been hatched against her. She told Oldham Council she had been forced to work from home following death threats and abuse, including threats to blow up a car. The Town Hall's investigation found there was no basis of her claims of a plot. But in March, the council issued a warning notice to Clarksfiled describing a serious breakdown in the way the school is managed, and Ofsted carried out its own inspection a few weeks later. It says that in years 5 and 6, boys dominate the play equipment and the girls wait for their turn until the boys finish, and adds, this goes unchallenged by supervising staff who do little to promote gender equality. Whilst most pupils are extremely polite and well-mannered, a minority of pupils, particularly boys, do not behave well and use inappropriate and derogatory language, it says. Ofsted also found a catalogue of safeguarding issues makes the school unsafe with dangerous equipment, including a saw, lying around within reach of children. It discovered poorly trained staff, some of who were unable to properly speak English. Oh, you just couldn't make these things up, but they have happened. They have happened. I'm not making them up. They have happened. This is the pits of where we are in the United Kingdom right now. And unfortunately, I will get absolutely slated for this, but this integration is something that I want to speak to and have out with the council if I get elected as a councillor, because it's just no good. Doesn't matter what community you are. I've told you this before. When that wedge is in, it keeps us divided. And until that wedge comes out, there's going to be no community cohesion. There is going to be no community cohesion. Our leaders and the council are well aware of that, and certain sections of the community, and they use that tool against us. Absolutely demonising the white man and anybody who speaks out against the rhetoric that's going on. And that's what is happening right now. And it's just, all this is here. So this particular report, ladies and gentlemen, is 2017. So the riots was 2002, and this is 2017. There is other schools. There has been before. I haven't got them up. I just wanted to pick on a couple of them. And throughout 2000, since the riots, right up to where it is now, it's even worse. It's worse. It's never been, a lid's never been put on it, and it's never been capped off by the spineless council who just appease people who just have no respect for British and UK laws and values. Right, and they're guilty of this, and I'll never back down from that. That's what I will say, and I have said it many times. It's well documented. Just 1 minute. Let's just have 1 second. I'll have a drink of orange. If you're tuning in late, my name's John.Lawrence, leader of the National Housing Party United Kingdom, and this is NHPUK TV. As you can see on my ticker, there's my email, john.lawrence at nationalhousingparty.uk. Also, patrick.mcginnis at nationalhousingparty.uk. If you want to get in contact with us, please use them emails. We are looking to get really into elections. I've got a big election coming next year. Next May, we're having a full Oldham Council election. So that's 3 councillors per 20 wards in Oldham. And if I'm going to get a seat, next year is the time that I am going to get that seat. It's going to be a battle. We've got a year to do it. I want to get people more involved. I want vote agents next year, maybe polling agents as well. I want people helping me throughout the year. I'll get some dates up, but I'm looking at least 3 big meets throughout the year. in Oldham, in that area of Hollingwood. But again, if you want to get more involved, if you want to run as a candidate yourself where you are, please email us. We've got plenty of experience, and I'm quite capable of running an election campaign with quite a few people if you want to join. But please email us. Please email. Don't just message me or say. Please email one of them emails. I'm up in Manchester in the north and Pat's down in the south. Pat should be coming on in a little bit. Good evening, Arlene. Good evening, White Knight. Green Banker, good evening, sir. Globalism, well, globalism, Green Banker. Let me just get one of my flyers out. We are against any globalist rules such as the EU and against mass immigration. Yes, I agree. The globalist agenda is bad. We don't want to be in it. I want to be a United Kingdom, me. I don't want to be a United Kingdom with the EU, UN, this, that. I don't want that. I want a United Kingdom. Diane, good evening. Yeah, Real News, Live News, that's me, that. Or is it? Yeah, I posted that on a link. Yes, very good one. Look at 0% mortgages and the selling of council housing stock, letting it happen. Plus, you honestly, you're right, mate. Patrick's talked about that before, but we don't want that. We don't want that. Any of the houses that get built under our rule will go straight onto council housing. We might the old housing, if you'll we'll still have right to buy, but that won't be on brand new houses. It will not be on brand new houses. It'll be on the older houses. If you've lived in your house 15 years, you'll still have the right to buy that property. But yeah, new council housing, we definitely need new council housing stock, certainly. And that stock, council housing stock, runs into the hundreds of thousands across the United Kingdom. Well, across England, it runs into hundreds of thousands, mate. But it's a good time for us to get them skills. Because, I mean, we've got good building skills in the UK, and we've got people with good building skills in the UK. A lot of the generation from the Windrush who came here were good at building, plastering, and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So we have a good stock of people to build houses in the United Kingdom. So we should focus on that. We are going to be writing our policies out and stuff like that, which we'll get round to, but there's only me and Pat. So we are looking at help with the party. We do need to open a bank account, which we're struggling with at the moment. And probably going to need technical help as well. We've got a website setting up. And stuff like that. But if you want to get more involved, please don't hesitate to email us. Especially if you're in the Oldham area, you want to get involved, email me, please. I'm firing with these elections and things. I want to get right into it. I mean, people say, well, it's no good. Well, it's only no good because we don't question it and we don't get involved in it. So if you want to get involved and see what it's like, we can have polling agents, counting agents. You can count my score up. You can be a person who goes on the count tables and is counting. You'll see the system as it's working. If there's anything that we can do better, Pat's just coming in now. Let's get him on. The system as it. Here we are. Good evening, Pat.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
We can, yeah. We certainly can.
Okay, good to see you, John, and good to hear what you had to say there.
I haven't finished, but go.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's absolutely disgraceful that these communities are allowed to do that without being prosecuted by the state, because everyone knows that if the indigenous British did that, they would be criminalised, people would lose their jobs, and yeah, it's ridiculous that that happens.
it's madness though, because like when Gavin Hopley got killed, that was the year after. The tensions were still high, and the council still didn't address it. And Gavin Hopley's killers ended up getting violent disorder charges, and one of them got rape and drugs charges dropped to shop in another one of them who lied to the court and said he wasn't there, but got found out he was. And all that happened. And the highest sentence were 21 months and the lowest sentence were 9 months or something like that. Now, I don't blame anybody who's white in being furious or angry at that. You know what I mean? His parents said they felt let down by the justice system. All it was the council was not going to do anything because they were appeasing that community because they were scared of them for whatever reason. They were scared of being branded racist, because at that time in the council, it had been dominated by, there was more white people in the council in them times. So the council was scared because of this hate speech thing. Oh, we don't want to get branded. And I mean, I said that, but that's documented as well about Oldham. That is documented as well about Oldham. And and so I don't blame anyone for getting angry. And because the BNP got a little bit involved, because Gavin was from Rochdale, he's from Haywood, and I think at that time there was a BNP candidate in the area where he lived or where he come from. So the BNP come up here, and then when they did that, everything switched to, oh well, because they've come up, everyone's a racist and all that, but they've done that in Oldham all the time, and I can prove that because a Root Shah did it just the other week. After a car got firebombed, the next minute she got all the hard left, the Liverpool Andrea, she got the Liverpool murder now, Joanne Anderson in, and all the hard left ones who always shout racist, not trying to make it look like she was being persecuted from the right wing. But everybody knows that the attacks she's had on a car and when she stood up to be a councillor was men from her own community. But no one's willing, Pat, to say anything like that in the council. No one's willing. At the time, the members of Parliament, Jim McManaman and Deborah Abrams, all they said was a little speech of, oh, how brave you are and all that lot, instead of finding these guys who were senior representatives of the community, Labour people who are already in charge, having them kicked out of the Labour Party and sacked. They didn't do that. You know what I mean? And again, it may sound me bad going on about that, but I have to think about the rest of Oldham residents. So I'm thinking about how all the white people must feel when anything gets said. They just get branded with these politically correct words, and it's wrong. And they're very clever, Oldham, at doing that. And I don't just mean Oldham. We know that this sort of thing's gone on across the country. We've just had all the trouble in Batley over the Batley school teacher. Yeah, and nobody, none of the politicians up there have said anything about it. One of their activists said there's going to be a transparent investigation. No members of the public have seen it. And I was with Teresa Just in Batley, and we talked to a parent of someone who went to that school, and she said that all the white people are scared. That's what she said to Teresa Just in Batley. She said all the white people are scared about all the kids and everything going on at that school. It's just ridiculous, Pat, honestly. Ridiculous.
Well, he's still in hiding, isn't he, the teacher from Batley?
He certainly is. And it's not just him. A couple of the other teachers were worried as well. That's what no one ever mentions. So that the parents are worried. We've got this directly from a parent's mouth. And even the people who work at the school are worried. Now, if it got that bad at a school in England, I want to see people being arrested, Pat. I want to see people being arrested, because if that were white people, unfortunately, or any other section of the community in the UK, they'd have been absolutely demonised. They'd been all over papers. It'd have been world news for weeks. But nothing, and it's wrong. And again, I don't mean to pick on any particular society, but if you can't see how that wedge divides communities, then you're blind, and you must be part of the problem. That's how I see it.
Well, one way they keep segregation is by marrying people in from Bangladesh and Pakistan. And as you know, John, we've had in-depth discussions about some of our policies we're thinking about doing. And that, you know, obviously we will have one policy of complete halt to permanent settlement immigration and exit the United Nations Refugee Convention. So the only way anyone would be able to get into this country to settle permanently is by marriage. But the criteria to have the right to marry someone from outside the UK is you must be able to trace half of your ancestry to the United Kingdom, and that would prevent these arranged marriages and forced marriages.
It certainly wouldn't. And Pat, that's not just we're saying that, but there is actually a couple of parties that have that in their thing, in their thing, and they're not all right wing. They're not all so-called right wing. There is a left-wing party that has that in their manifesto or policies. So going forward, that seems reasonable. We've talked about this, me and Pat in deep, but yeah, you're right. That marrying and that bringing them kind of people in who don't speak English, a lot of the times on an arranged marriage, a person coming here will have minimum knowledge, won't be able to speak English or anything like that. But and they get in through the marriage clause, which goes to segregating communities. And we know this because there was a Guardian investigative reporter up in Oldham, and when she went to a polling station, she couldn't understand and couldn't believe how many people could not speak English. And this was 15 years ago. It wasn't recent. This was 15 years ago. So again, another big barrier to community cohesion is not being able to speak the language. But the thing is, we can't say anything. The thing is, we have to integrate. We have to put up with it. That's what the government and our authorities tell us, that we are not doing enough to integrate. And I don't care where you're from in the world. If you go to another country, the first thing you've got to do is learn to speak their language. I don't care what anyone says. That's right everywhere else, but in England, it's not. In England, you can just come here and speak whatever. And it's ended up with London got short of 300 different first languages. And it's that's gone in Oldham, that's 85. And I think Birmingham is about 150. So, yeah, it's a big, serious issue. And again, it's not just us saying this. There's lots of different people saying this to our authorities and our leaders, and no one's listening. No one's listening.
So how's your campaign going, John?
Good, thanks, Pat. I've had a good few phone calls, and I've had a few people who don't vote, but who are going to vote. And that's the electorate is 7,758 is a total amount of the electorate. The last election, just over 2,000 votes went into the last election they had here. John,
take that comment off because you can't see your face.
Yeah, so 7,758 and only 2,000 voted last year. I've had a good run. It's been hard though, because I started really late, just knowing that the party was fully registered just less than a week before the nominations came and all that lot. But I've still got some more leaflets to get out. But yeah, I'm honestly, Pat, I'm excited. I'm loving it. I'm getting There's people, I'm posting a leaflet and then they're running down the street after me afterwards. I'll vote for you and all this lot. And you know what I mean? And I've already been bought a couple of beers in pub and stuff like that already. And it's been good. It's been good. But yeah, I'm just excited. Next year is a year, Pat. Next year is a year.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't going to stand in my area. It was a last minute thing. And I just thought, you know, should stand because I've never stood before and I just want to get a bit of experience. I've taken part in quite a lot of local elections, but I've never actually stood myself, and I did not really think I would get many votes, but I am absolutely astonished on how many people have told me they're going to vote for me. My leaflet is quite radical, and I thought it would turn a few people off, but people were dying. They couldn't get enough of it. And because they're so sick of the Lib Lab Con and their stupid leaflets, they just don't want to upset anyone, so they just say nothing. That's all they do is say nothing. And this is what I'm telling them on the doorstep. I say, look, I'll put 5 points on there. I've stuck my head above the parapet. I'm telling you what I think on certain issues. Even if you agree with 2 of the points, consider giving me a vote. And I'm getting so many people. I've had like 120 people tell me they're going to vote for me so far. And if I would have started, because these elections are every 4 years, if I would have started 2 or 3 years ago, I could have put a challenge in. You know, I'm not saying I would have won it, but I could have made them scared. Because people, like you said, only 2,000 people voted in your ward out of 8,000 or 9,000, whatever it was, yeah? My ward is 8,000 voters. I've put out 4,000 leaflets, and it was a bit of a manifesto, but they do like it. Because, well, there's so many things I'm pissed off about. I had to get them all on the leaflet, get it off my chest. And, yeah, I'm really glad I've done it. And it's a shame it's every 4 years, to be honest. It's a real shame. So, but it's going to give me a lot of experience. So, you know, like John said, we just want people to come forward and stand in your local elections. We're going to all unite around the 2 main policies: complete halt to permanent settlement immigration, exit the United Nations Refugee Convention. We have helped enough refugees. We do not need to help anymore. We cannot help any more refugees. We're full up. We're trillions in debt. We've got 1.2 million people waiting for council flats. You know, how anyone can even continue to say and demand that we take in more refugees is very selfish, is an understatement.
Certainly is. I'm trying to find when your last election was, how many people voted.
Well, another interesting thing about my ward is Labour, they win it every single time. They've won it forever. And you get 3 candidates. So there's 3 Labour standing, 3 Liberals, 3 Conservatives, and me. Unfortunately, I am standing as an independent, but we have put National Housing Party United Kingdom on the leaflet. Because, like you said, we got registered about 2 days before I went to hand in my nomination signatures. So, yeah, so in 2014, Labour, their top one, they got 2,200 votes. That was in 2014. 2018, they got 1,700 votes. So they went down 500 votes. And that was the last one. So I even heard from someone that one of them was really worried about losing her seat. And I'm thinking, how can they be worried about losing their seat? This is Labour's backyard. But like I just said, they lost 500 votes in 4 years from 14 to 18. And now it might go down again, because I've been knocking on doors and speaking to the public, and there's a lot of Corbynistas who won't vote for Keir Starmer. They see him and his cabal as they see them as Tories. That's how they see him. I can't wait for the election. I just can't wait to see the result. I mean, I might not get 100 votes, but I'll get near there. I might not. I don't know, but a lot of people say they're going to vote for you, and they don't. They can't be bothered to go up there on the day, or for whatever reason. Yeah. So yeah. I mean, what's the response you're getting, John?
Good, mate. Good response. They definitely want Labour out. At the moment, they're only holding 16 seats, and apparently, if they get to 10 seats, then they've lost control of the majority of the council.
Wow.
And they're definitely going to lose seats in this election. Definitely going to lose seats in this election. And then if it comes next year when we have a full council election, so the more independents, the more people stand up, the less seats will get, and it could mean that next year it changes to either Conservative or Lib Dem, or even the independents. If enough independents get in, we'll control the council. There's possibly five of the Failsworth Independent Party in Failsworth now. If we do get a good set of independent parties and councillors in, it's up to us to work together against Labour and the Conservatives and to make our town better, because we'll hold the majority. So it's exciting. It is really exciting that what's coming. It is.
Did you manage to speak to the Northern Heart guy who's standing?
No, I haven't found his details anywhere, but I'll have to wait till voting night now to introduce myself, which I'm gonna do. But I will speak to him. And I'm sure that after this election, anybody running is going to think twice if they're going to run as an independent or another party. I'm positive, and I'm firing. I'm just firing all cylinders.
Another interesting thing, very interesting thing I found out on the doorstep is a lot of the Muslim voters, they do not like Khan, and I was shocked that how many of them don't. And I'm saying to them, well, how did he get in? If like, because I tell them, I said I spoke to quite a few Muslim people, and they absolutely hate him because of all the road closures, the congestion charge. What he's put the price up and then increased it to later at night on the weekdays and then on the weekends as well. And I've also heard that is it true Andy Burnham has stopped all this happening in Manchester?
Well, it's at the moment it's on hold until later on this year sometime. Later on this year sometime, but he's been fired at it. But with the
sorry, mate. You know the ULEZ, this ULEZ thing that they brought in London, which is it's an attack on the poor because rich people could just buy a new electric car and poor people can't do that. And otherwise you've got to buy a diesel 2016 plus. And they were talking about Manchester was going to be the next city they're going to do it. And somebody told me that Andy Burnham has prevented that from happening. Is that true?
Yeah, but he's not prevented it full stop. It's just on hold or whatever at the moment.
Because congestion charge and there's two different things, John. Did you know that?
Yeah. But I mean, the same kind of thing that they want to get money, and I understand, money, and if everyone has to buy new vans, then the van people are going to make money.
But the poor people are the one who suffer because they can't afford to keep buying new cars and electric cars and all this crap. And London is just a war on the motorists, and it's a disgrace. And I'm going to really go on. Sorry,
I went mad at the last question time because they were all going on about it, right? But they was going on about that because it affects everyone, but they weren't bothered about the violence on our streets. They weren't bothered about Reece Tansey, who got stabbed to death, lured out of his house by two 15-year-olds and stabbed to death. They weren't bothered about Bury, where a teenager was stabbed to death by a gang.
The woman burnt alive in the street.
The woman burnt alive as well. So when it affects all of them, or it affects the thingy, then they're all in uproar. But no one's in uproar over the rape gangs. No one's in uproar over the violent crime or the crime against women. Nobody is. So when I stood up in Bolton, there was loads of witnesses. I went mad at them, Pat. I went mad at them all, saying, "Where's your priorities?"
What do you make of? Would you make a Tyson Fury? John Fury is going to stand up.
I went mad at them, and And I just thought that, like, the important things should be sorted out first. And I said to all these people, I said, it's your 15-year-olds, and they're all white, but I pointed at them because Reese Tansey was white and he got lured out by 2 white kids. It's your 15-year-olds are going killing themselves, and you're all there bleating on to the mayor about this caste tax. Oh.
What do you think of John Fury going to stand for mayor?
Is that in London?
No, it's in Manchester. Haven't you heard?
No.
Tyson Fury's dad, he announced he's going to stand. He said he can't stand all these parties, and he's going to stand for the mayor of Manchester in the next election. I thought you would have heard about that.
We'll have to get in contact with him. He can join our party.
Yeah, I think he's going to have a good shout because that Andy Burnham, he's going to be moved up higher up in the Labour Party for sure.
He is.
But yeah, John Fury, he made a big announcement. I tweeted it and that, didn't I? But yeah, that woman who got burnt alive running down the street is just, you know, most people haven't heard about that. I mean, you educated me on it, and but most people have never heard of it. That, you know, where's all the feminists and these Me Too people, and you know, like they're talking about what's her name crossing her legs in this like mainstream media news every day, and that the woman getting burnt alive doesn't even get to the national news.
No, Zia Hussain, nothing. There's been nothing since. It's just gone silent. I haven't seen any.
Did they show it on? Did they show it on Sky or BBC National News?
No, they didn't. No,
unbelievable.
And so, you know, this is the effects of segregation as well. This is one of the effects of segregation, and what it does to them communities. And nobody says nothing. You know, it'll just get blown over. The council will appease that section of the community because they don't want to cause any trouble, and then that doesn't help all the rest of the communities, and it doesn't help bringing the wedge out. So it's just going. And like I said at the beginning of the video, we've got 30 years from 1970. The Ritchie Report says that this has been going on, and it's never been tackled, and the Labour won't deal with it. And these are the things that I've been saying that's what I said to Graham Stringer. Labour don't deal with a situation when it comes. And everybody in that room clapped when I said that to him. And, you know, they don't. And it's one of the failings. And until they admit that they've failed, or they admit that that's what, that we're never going to go anywhere else. Never going to go anywhere else.
Yeah.
So, so in the Islamic school plot takeover, the Clarksfiled Primary School, fake allegations included. Wait. Sorry. So about the school, it was pointed out that a particular couple were relevant in this, and he actually won damages. A guy, he actually won damages off some newspaper because that's what they said. He got away with it. This guy's a fundamentalist, Pat. He's one of them who believes women should be covered up, honour and stuff like that. He believes in all that. His name is Nassim Ashraf, and he won a libel claim against a certain newspaper over this, right? So, I mean, that's at Clarksfiled Primary School. You know, he might be innocent, but then in 2019, he turns up outside schools complaining about sex education, and then live on Northwest Tonight, he says that if they don't take sex education out of the schools, there could be riots in Oldham again. That's what he said.
Imagine if a white person said that.
If any other section of the community or a white person had said that, it'd have been all over national news. They've been locked up. You'd never seen them again. But it now, so that's twice now, and he works for he does for the Oldham Interfaith Forum, and he receives money off Oldham Council. He receives money off Oldham Council. 2018, 2019, he got £19,000 to do with the Oldham Interfaith Forum. Another thing where we throw money, and it's a fundamentalist who don't believe in integrating.
Is that the same one who said threatening there could be riots? If
yeah, the same one. So it's something to do with that school. The next thing he's saying could be riots on telly, on live on Northwest Tonight. Honestly, Pat, it's just unbelievable. And
I mean, I have noticed when I've done a bit of campaigning up in Pendle, around Burnley area, and the segregation is much more evident than it is down south, like in London where I'm from. Like you got the two different communities, haven't you? Like in Burnley's like split in half, Asian community and then white and other communities mixed together, sort of thing. It's pretty bad up north, and obviously that's where all the grooming gangs things happened as well.
Yeah. So where the biggest ones happened in the Rotherham and that, and I mean Yorkshire's been there's been a lot from around Yorkshire, but there's never been no big ring pointed out. But it all stems from Yorkshire. Big massive rings all stem from Yorkshire, and they just not tackled it. You know what I mean? Like they haven't. But I mean, the police say in Telford, they said they had 40 years of evidence on this. So in 40 years, no one's come with a solution. No one's brave enough to say anything. And those who do say something are demonized and branded with politically correct words. And you just couldn't make it up. And the same thing's gone on in Oldham. Again, when the riots, when Gavin Hopley got killed, and I've put this link up before. I'm not going to search for it now. It'll take me a while, but I have shown this evidence before. One of the lads got rape charges and drug charges dropped. So that says to me that for 20 or more years, abuse and probably rape gangs have been operating around Oldham. So yeah, that was Nassim Ashraf, a fundamentalist who gets money off Oldham Council to say things like that on telly. And again, if I would have said that on telly, I'd have been arrested. There'd have been I've been interrogated. There'd have been an investigation, or anyone white would have said that anybody from the opposite section of the community would have been branded and condemned for saying that. But no one says nothing, and that doesn't help in community cohesion. You know, I don't understand why people don't see this. It's never, our communities are never gonna cohese until we take them wedges out, until we clean the wound and they can bandage it up properly so it comes together. We're never gonna have peace in our communities. But again, there's a lot of things that you can blame that on, but a lot of the times now it seems to me that it's done specifically on purpose to demonize the working class part.
Yeah, I mean, it's just been a disaster, the whole thing, really. It's just like you say, from the 90s onwards, it's just got worse and worse and worse. And, you know, the only community who gets penalised for it, what they've done, these communities up in Oldham and that, they get the white community gets criminalised, taken to court, sanctioned, and also the white British community are the only community who are legally discriminated against for employment, for example.
It's mad, on it. I've told the story where I went to the Dole office and then the guy next to me come in, didn't speak English, got a translator, but he was signing on for his paycheck. And straight away, that's discrimination because he doesn't have to fill forms in. He doesn't have to fill his little book in where he's been to work. And I mean, my town centre's got about 30, 40 kebab shops or chicken shops and stuff like that. And I bet you that 80-90% of the people in them shops don't pay tax or claiming benefits or working on the side. You know, no wonder our councils have no money. You know what I mean? And they have no money. So they're raising everyone's council tax up. We've got Oldham's got one of the highest banded council taxes in the country. Fact, as done for over 10 years.
Labour Party is always the highest, isn't it?
Pardon?
Labour Party are always the highest council tax.
They are. Well, the areas where they have a lot of control, like in Oldham and that, it's just high poverty. So that them people are all on benefits and they don't pay council tax. And obviously, there's more people now work on not off the books than ever used to.
Let me ask you a question, John. I think I heard recently that the Tories are suggesting that people on benefit should have to do some sort of labour for what they get. And I've always been of the opinion that I agree with that. So, for example, if you was getting unemployment support, you would have to do something to get that money. You know, like, I don't know, sweep the whatever hours it was to get that money. What's your opinion on that?
It sounds all right in theory, but it'd probably be hard to roll out in Oldham because, like I said, someone don't speak English. So how can he go working with? He either has to work on his own, or he has to
go. You don't get the money, do they?
Yeah, or he has to work on his own, or he'll have to have a translator there or something. And I mean, I agree with it, but that they will use whatever resources they have against that so that they don't have to do it. But I do agree with it. He could just, like, if he lives on like John Street somewhere, his job could be to keep that street clean every day.
Exactly. I think a lot of people would soon come off the dole and they wouldn't be on the benefits because they'd be getting paid the minimum wage to do it or whatever. Also in the news today, John, I don't know if you saw about the Electoral Commission. Have you heard about it?
No.
The Tories have I don't know what the word is. I think they're trying to privatise it or something. And they were talking about it on Michelle Dewberry's channel, Michelle Dewberry's show on GB News tonight. And basically, I think the reason they've done it is because, as you know, it's like a far left campaign group.
It is.
You know, the amount of grief they gave us, I mean, on membership criteria, you know, what the hell has it got to do with them? It's like there's laws in place that if we discriminate, we're going to get arrested. So, but you know, like, you know exactly what they were like. And but yeah, so there's something happening there, and apparently during the referendum, they gave the Brexit party a really hard time. Like, they were making them prove all different monies they was getting and all sorts of unacceptable and unnecessary harassment, and they shouldn't be allowed to do this. It should be a neutral thing. And I'm not exactly sure what they're doing, but I think the Tories are going to privatise it or something. It's on all over the news today.
Well, if they privatise it, then we're not going to get them ideologically driven people running it, are we?
Yeah.
If they privatise it, it should go back to somebody who will want to run it proper and democratically. But yeah, you know, how can they give the Brexit? That's just the old thing in it. Everything's stacked against us at the moment. But we have to call them out, Pat. The little steps start off, and we have to call them out.
So if there is anyone in London watching this stream, or you watch the video on YouTube, please get in contact with me if you're willing to help do leafleting or or, you know, you just want to come along with me doing a bit of canvassing one day, or just want to make contact even, please get in touch. Emails at the bottom of the screen. And obviously, if you're up north, get in touch with John. John's going to have a lot of activities coming up in Oldham. So let us know. And even if you want to stand in your local area, wherever it is in the country, get in contact with us. Our two main policies is stopping permanent settlement immigration, exiting the United Nations Refugee Convention, and that's what we're building from. We're under a lot of pressure at the moment because we just got registered and we haven't got our website up yet. So we're like literally in the middle of two local elections, John in Oldham and myself in North London.
Facebook user, is that you, Brian Parsonage? I think it might be. I was just telling, I think it is Brian Parsonage. So Brian's in Blackpool, and I think he's going to come on board with the party pack.
Oh, that's good news.
He's ready to run. Brian is certainly ready to run. Knows his area. He's and he's motivated as well. And so it looks like we'll have Brian in soon. And he's a good lad. Met his family. Good patriot. Been on lots of different demos and stuff like that. That's good news. But yeah, so you can email us. john.lawrence at nationalhousingparty.uk and patrick.mcginnis at nationalhousingparty.uk for more. So just to finish off on the integration, so I talked about one school, then there is another school in the link, another school in there, Iqra High School for girls. So it's the next step up from primary. Same thing there. The support teachers couldn't speak English. The girls are getting a lapse in education and stuff like that. So, I mean, so when them generations grow up, what did he end up? Did he end up being like Zia Hussain, who were born here, obviously must have had a rubbish schooling, who ended up being a kidnapper and a sexual torturer? Does that mean that these kids, because they don't have a decent education here, they can't get a job or not a regular job, they go into antisocial behaviour, drugs and things like that? That Zia Hussain, drug dealer. Underneath him, there's 4 teenagers who were 16. They kidnapped and sexually tortured a lad as well. So, I mean, does that lack of integration from the school, which I could say could really link with how these kids grow up, and the way they grow up into adults? So it's a multi-generational thing. It's not something that just happened one time. It's affecting kids of different generations going down. This is all about integration. This is Big John, and you're on NHPUK TV. I'm alongside my main man, Patrick McGinnis, and we're talking about integration. We are. And again, look at some of my links I've put in. Zia Hussain as well, by the way, is one of Arut Shah's bestie friends. And after this conviction he got, he's campaigning with her when she was running for her Labour candidacy. Now, hang on a minute. If I had a person who kidnapped someone, drugs charges, and sexually abused them, I'm sure that people would have things to say. A few people do, but when we do say this, we're thrown at with politically correct words and stuff like that. But there's definitely a link between the schooling that I've showed you there, a primary school and a high school, and with them teenagers, Zia Hussain, who was might have been 18, 19 at the time. Them 4 teenagers were 16 years old. And obviously their upbringing ended up them doing that to somebody. This is Oldham. This is Oldham. And this isn't just a one-time thing, though, Pat. This has gone on all over the country. It's been covered up well. People don't say anything. And again, not blaming just particular Labour, just all over the country. At the moment, the Conservatives are under fire for the latest MP to have abuse charges on him from Wakefield. And he was already under investigation for them abuse charges when he was put on a panel of a committee to do with child sexual exploitation. And the Conservatives are under fire for it. So you can see that the lapse in our councils, the people who lead us, they're just ignoring us and leading us down this route. But Pat, come on, have the last few words and then we'll hang up.
Right, yeah, I mean, you caught me off guard there, John. Yeah, I mean, I'm just getting stuck into my campaign, hopefully get a few votes. And I've learned a lot, what I'm doing in my campaign. And yeah, we're not going to be scared to speak out about certain things, like you just said, John. We're not going to be worried about these silly politically correct insults they throw at us. We're going to be a party that doesn't engage with politically correct language. We're against bullying. We're not, we're against people being bullied with these politically correct words, which mainly the white community are bullied with. But yeah, I mean, there is another policy I wanted to go into, but we'll do that another time, about the illegal immigrants. What our suggestion is going to be for that, and mandatory 3-year prison sentence for a deterrent, because even if you can deport them, it's no deterrent to keep deporting people. They just keep coming back. The Rwanda announcement is not going to do anything. They will start coming over, women and children in the boats, and it's not going to stop anything. They'll just find another way to get people in, and this crisis is going to. They just keep kicking the can down the road. They haven't got a bottle to say exit the United Nations Refugee Convention. That is the only solution to save our country, and Lib Lab Com will never do it, and quite a lot of those Farage parties won't do that either.
Well, I just want to, now you've said that, I just want to take note on this. Now, you've been on this exit, the 1951 Refugee Convention, 2 years or something, proper with a
Since
banner.
2016.
2016. So 2016. Now, before that, no party had exit that clause in their thing, and now the parties are putting it in. So and I can say, I think I can say that safely said that is something to do with you, Pat. People have seen the banners, they've seen us talking about it, and when they've looked into it, UKIP just recently, and
you as well, John. You've took part in every event we organised, and as far as I know, UKIP's got it in theirs. English Democrats got it in theirs. Social Democratic Party's got it in theirs. Yeah, so it's getting out there, and I'm pretty sure the British Democrats will have it in theirs as well. And we're going to work closely with the British Democrats. We will work with other parties if they have similar policies to us. But obviously, if someone's pro-immigration, we're not interested.
Yeah, definitely not. Definitely not. But thank you, everyone in the chat. Antonella Dilemma, Arlene Bennett, Susie Singer, Budgie Berger, Peter Smith, and I'm sure it was Brian Parsonage who was in the chat earlier on. Thank you, Brian. Give us a ring later on or something, and we'll talk. Claire, Dave 101, good evening, sir. White Knight, Green Banker, Alex Riley, English Bulldog. You all right, guys? I thought there might be a few more in. Steve Wild, sir. Yes, thank you. So, yeah, good evening, and thank you very much, everyone. Next Thursday, I'll see you again with another episode on NHPUK TV.
Thank you.